It's the weekend, so we're gonna see if the vibe feels a little bit different. Got my venti Starbucks, and I'm ready to talk to you today about what to do when you're feeling that comparisonitis sneak up. Now, this is a little bit of a softer subject, but honestly, it's so important because every entrepreneur I know and have ever known has dealt with this at some point. And it's just not something that is talked about enough. So we're gonna change that today. If you're new here, hi, I'm Luisa Zhou, and this channel is all about helping you build your own business so that you can create true freedom, impact, and abundance for yourself. Today, I'm not gonna tell you just to, feel good, you don't have to worry about comparing to others. I'm gonna give you the tangible things that I have personally done over the years and that I have coached a lot of clients through when they are dealing with this to be able to overcome that comparisonitis. So with that, let's jump right in. I just want to make sure and check my mic is on. Don't want to be dropping all this wisdom and have to redo it. Okay, so with that, back to the topic. The first thing I want to share is a general reframe on the whole idea of comparison. So just so you know, I grew up in a very stereotypical Asian home where we were taught that you've got to compete. You've got to be the best in order to get into the best school, get the best job, and basically have a good life. So it's not like I didn't grow up that way. However, I'm going to share with you the way I think about it now. And it came from, surprisingly, also my childhood where I grew up watching a lot of Chinese TV shows. So typical Chinese dramas with like really drawn out 60 plus episodes and really beautiful songs in the beginning. I mentioned the song because there was this one particular martial arts kind of drama. And the beginning of the song, one of the phrases roughly translated was, outside of every person, there's another person. Outside of every mountain, there's another mountain. Basically, what that means, I had to get my dad to explain this to me when I was a kid, is that there is always going to be someone who is better than you, no matter how good you are. Just sooner or later, that's going to happen. I mean, look at just the history of the wealthiest people in the world, for example. Bill Gates was the wealthiest person for the longest time. And then Jeff Bezos came up, and then Elon Musk came up, and then who knows who's going to be next, right? There's always just going to be someone better. That's just how human nature works. And so once you realize that, what you can do is instead of trying to be the best, you can kind of accept, okay, cool. There's always going to be someone better. That doesn't mean not to continue to grow and try and be your best, but you get to accept that, okay, you know what? If I understand that, and that's just human nature, we're always going to be growing, I don't have to play that game. I don't have to make the measure of my worth or my success how much quote unquote better I am than anyone else. So it's a really powerful reframe that I have found to make a really big difference for myself. And I didn't even realize I was doing it until a while back when I was talking to a few clients about it, and it just kind of naturally came out. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. That's one of the reasons why these days I don't struggle as much with comparisonitis. Now, on the tactical front, what might be easier is, if you can, to kind of shut off from social media, from being on the email lists of anybody in your industry. I know it's easier said than done, but try it. I think you're really going to love it. I took basically an Instagram break for the last 3 months until recently. And honestly, it was the best thing I could have ever done for my peace of mind. I completely didn't think about what anyone else was doing. And I just felt so good about my life and my business. And I was just really focused on myself. Not a coincidence that those 3 months were also 3 of the best months, in my business to date. And so do that. Also, don't be on the email list of anybody else in your industry. You don't need to be seeing what anybody else is doing. Who cares? Do your own thing, do the best, and you're going to attract the best people for you. We're going to talk a little bit more about that later on in this video as well. So that's thing number 1 I wanted to share with you. Thing number 2, to get a little bit deeper, is to really think about, okay, when I'm feeling comparisonitis, that is actually a symptom, not the root cause of what's really going on. When you remind yourself of that and bring it back to that, what that allows you to do is to sit down and analyze, okay, what is actually really going on? There are a few common reasons, and the reason it's happening for you might be one or all of these or something else, but I'm gonna kind of get you thinking a little bit. It could be maybe that you're starting to see a little bit of success, or you want that success and you're scared of getting it because you're thinking, oh my gosh, when I have it and people are looking to me, are they going to be comparing me to this person I'm comparing myself to and finding me lacking compared to that person, right? So it's that fear of being seen, of being called out, that, oh my gosh, people are going to realize I'm just not good enough. Maybe it's you're scared that you're not going to be doing right by your clients, helping them get the best results compared to maybe so-and-so in your industry or just on your own, right? So this fear that you can't deliver on what you're promising, and the more clients you get, the more people are going to realize that. Ooh, that's a big one, right? Or it could be just this sense of self-worth where you have been taught your whole life that your sense of self-worth and accomplishment should come from you measuring against others and coming out better. That was me. That was what I was taught, right? So the reason I'm sharing these is because once you understand what's actually going on, you're able to separate the symptom from the root cause and actually address the root cause. Now, that could be a whole video in of itself, so we're not going to go into that here too much, but once you recognize it, that allows you to take the steps to start handling it. Like, okay, if my self-worth is based on comparing to others, okay, what do I need to do to get my sense of self-worth from myself, my own accomplishments, and whatever it is that I bring uniquely to the table? Oh my gosh, again, that could be a whole thing in of itself, but start there, and that is going to just massively reframe your comparisonitis very, very quickly. That's number 2. Number 3 is kind of a follow-up from what we just talked about, and that is to instead focus on your strengths. Now, this is really common advice, but I will tell you, it took me quite a while to actually understand it and really absorb it for myself, because it's easy to pay lip service to, yeah, just focus on my strengths, but what are they really? And so what I would recommend doing is sitting down for maybe 20 to 30 minutes, setting a timer, and really writing down what your strengths are and thinking about them, not just like writing a list with a few words and be like, okay, I did it, checked it off the list. And then sitting down and understanding why those are such powerful strengths to you. I'm normally not a big fan of quote unquote comparing yourself. I mean, that's the whole point of this video, but this is one of those cases where it might actually be helpful to sit and understand why this strength of yours is actually a huge strength that a lot of your competitors might not have. So, for example, one of my strengths is that I am an engineer by training. I am very logical, and I am very good at analyzing things and knowing all the numbers in my business, or the necessary ones. For the longest time, I will tell you, I thought that was the most boring thing ever, and I completely dismissed it as a strength. It wasn't until just frankly through accident and just talking and hearing feedback from my clients where they said, you know, one of the main reasons I hired you was because you're so analytical and you're good with your numbers, and I knew you could help me with that. That I realized, oh, whoa, this thing that I had totally dismissed, I had written it down as a strength, but then I just totally dismissed it, is actually one of my biggest advantages when thinking about what I bring to the table. That's something that a lot of other people in this industry do not have. They do not have that background. They do not have that unique strength or that interest. And so it's a huge reason why people are coming to me. So really sitting down and not only listing your strengths, but also drawing out maybe an explanation for yourself or just thinking it through, why this is actually a unique advantage in whatever industry it is that you work in. So really, really be thinking about that. And again, I just want to add one more thing. This is something that can be really easy to dismiss because we are taught to kind of focus and self-criticize most of the time instead of focusing on our strengths and kind of congratulating ourselves. Again, that's how I was raised. So been there, done that. But the truth is, if you spend even a fraction of the time that you do on criticizing yourself as on focusing your strengths, what that's going to do is it's going to allow you to double down on them and just grow them from there. I'm thinking of a lot of successful entrepreneurial stories where really, really successful entrepreneurs have given the same advice. Things like, hey, don't focus on your weaknesses, focus on your strengths and double down on them, right? Contrary to the popular advice like, oh, focus on your weaknesses and strengthen them. No. I'm forgetting who said this, and there have been a lot of successful entrepreneurs who have said it, but the idea is there. And if you really want to, see the famous names to back that up, you can Google it. It's very easy to find. So that is something I would spend a good amount of time doing. And then, just to add in a little bit of business advice, what you can do is you can also be thinking about how can I build on this in my business, right? How can I draw it out so that, like for me, right? That example I gave, knowing my numbers. Okay, great. I'm going to talk about it more. I'm going to talk about it more in my marketing. I'm going to teach it more so that I just make it even more obvious. This is my strengths, and draw even more to me the people who want to work with that. I'm going to give you one more example, because this, again, our strengths can be so easy to overlook for ourselves. Something that I like to do is I'm very efficient. I'm very good at systematizing my business. At this point, I have run a 7-figure business for going on 8 years. And I call it a freedom business because it wasn't like this in the first few years. It took a lot of time to build up. So let me caveat that. But these days it takes only 5 to 20 hours for me to run this business. And that gives me a lot of free time to work on my other businesses, to play with my dog, and also to watch a lot of TV. So something I just naturally talk about in a lot of my emails and videos is the TV shows that I'm watching, and I'd like to draw fun business lessons from that and share them, especially in my email list. And a few years ago, someone basically said to me, you know, Luisa, one of the reasons why I bought from you is because it's obvious you actually have a life outside of your business, and you love what you do and you love your life. I can tell from all the TV shows that you like to talk about, and it's from the way you talk and your energy, and it's obvious you're not overwhelmed and burned out and lying about not working all the time. And, you know, that was a huge aha for me, because I had been taught up until that point that watching TV is something you're just not supposed to do, right? Again, something from my very Asian parents. You don't watch TV a lot if you want to be successful. You know, that was my little rebellion, I guess you can call. And so I had just mentioned it because that was just what I did in my life, and I like to share my life stories as I tie them into business lessons. And it wasn't until quite a few people started sharing that with me that I realized, whoa, again, the fact that I have free time to do this was something that I had dismissed as being quote unquote lazy. But in truth, I could realize it was a strength because I was so efficient at running my business and good at building my business and doing all of these things that I had the free time I wanted to be able to just enjoy my life and do other things. And so that is just another example for you. If there's some strength that you might be dismissing, right, or that you might have been taught is quote unquote bad, but actually in the eyes of your potential clients might be something that they want. So really, really important thing there, which leads me to the next point that I want to share with you, which is basically when you're feeling comparisonitis, to sit back and think about this piece. When you are building a business relationship with a potential client, right? And no matter what you sell, whether it's a product or something where they never even quote unquote get to meet you, like I sell a lot of courses, so I actually don't know who exactly every single client I have is. But even in that kind of context, there's a human piece, there's a human relationship. Someone is buying from you because they feel that connection with you. And so they're not necessarily coming to you because they're like, oh my gosh, so-and-so is the most perfect, amazing person in the world. If only, right? But they're buying from you because they're like, I connect with this person the most. I want to learn. I want to buy from whatever it is you sell, this person the most. And of course, you have to have a great product, but a lot of it is from you and that connection that person feels to you, no matter what it is you're selling, this applies. And so when you understand that, it's about it's about understanding, why are you the best person to help out your client? That's it. You're not the best person in the world. You're not comparing yourself to so-and-so. Why are you the best person to help your particular clients? The analogy I like to think about is this. Think about your romantic partner, for example, right? You don't have to be, and you're probably not trying to be the hottest, smartest, funniest, most perfect person in the world. That's just not a game you want to play. It's like you can't win, right? But what was it? You were the best person who was the best personality, the best strengths, the best fit for your partner. And that's what it came down to. You weren't trying to compete against like Gisele Bündchen or something, right? For how hot you are, or for how much money you have, or for like who knows, whatever characteristics you and your partner like to focus on. That is your business. But more seriously, that way of thinking about it that we think about in other areas of our life like that is the same way that you want to be thinking about your business. We're just not taught this particular way of thinking about business. And so it feels different, but it's really not. So you want to think about that in the same way for your clients as well. Why are you the best fit for them? You don't have to be the Gisele Bündchen version of whatever it is you do, right? There are people who are going to want that, but there are also going to be people who want exactly what it is that you bring to the table. Let me use myself as an example because as you guys know, everything I share with you, I like to do it back in experience and proof versus just theory. And so these days, I do not coach personally people who are new in their business. Like I have courses on that. I love talking about that from time to time, but I don't personally coach people who are new entrepreneurs. I only take a handful of coaching clients a year. And so that time is better spent on helping people go to multiple 6 to 7 to multiple 7 figures. Recently, and this happens fairly frequently, I had someone reach out and say, hey, I love everything you share, but I'm too new to coach with you and I know it. I've only had a few clients, but I love your methodology. Is there someone that you could recommend to coach me? And actually, I remembered one of my clients that I had worked with years ago for many years, who had worked with me to build her own business. And then as she built her business, transitioned into doing business coaching for beginners. And I said, hey, you know what? I got the perfect person for you. Let me connect you guys. Now, in the technical scheme of things, when you're thinking about comparisonitis, it could be easy to say, okay, Luisa is more successful, has made more money, has a bigger business, a bigger audience, etc., than this other person that I recommended them to. But the truth is, that's not even the right context. The context was who is the best person to coach that particular person at that moment. And again, it's just that business equivalent of that Gisele Bündchen analogy I just shared. And so you want to sit down and be thinking about, forget how amazing everybody else is. We're all amazing in our own ways. And frankly, that's the truth. Every business is amazing in its own way. It has its own strengths. Otherwise, it wouldn't be around. What is it that I bring to the table and who exactly am I for so that I'm able to speak to those people and know I'm the best person for or product for those people. So those are the things you want to think about when you are feeling that comparisonitis, which again, happens to everybody and frankly is a lot more common than I think we talk about as a society. So I wanted to share that with you so we can break it down and shift to focusing on you growing your business versus all this comparisonitis, which is not helpful, right? So with that, if you found that helpful, I think you are going to love my next video for you, which is another real Biz Talk video on why your business isn't where you want it to be. I break it down for you what the most common problems are, how to analyze it, and how to solve it so that you can start growing your business. I'm going to link that video for you right here. So if you want it, check it out for sure. And I will see you in that video.